everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Erica from Confessions of a Homeschooler, and today I am doing a Tip Tuesday on how to prepare for homeschooling through high school. So I do have a blog post on this, and I also have a chapter in my Homeschooling 101 book as well. And I have a copy of that here. And so there are already some tips, but I thought it would be fun to do a video as well, just to kind of tell you what we're doing to prepare for high schoolers. So most of you know that I have an 8th grader this year, and so next year will be her 9th grade year, her freshman year in high school. And so we are currently knee-deep in the process of figuring out what we are going to do for homeschooling for next year. So I thought I would share some of the steps that we are taking to prepare for high school for next year. At the end of this video, I'll tell you exactly what we are doing with her so that you kind of just can see what we've chosen to do. There are so many options out there, but I at least wanted to make a video letting you know the steps that we're taking to prepare for that, and then some of the options that are out there for you and some of the helps and places you can go to get more information. So just really quickly off the bat, I wanted to mention the website hslda.org. I've mentioned that before in probably some of my other posts and things, but it is a great website. They have a lot of information for a variety, all the states and all requirements and legal kind of help. They also have a section on kind of helping you get started for high schooling through homeschooling through high school as well. And so that would be a great resource just to check out. So I do have a lot of information in my Homeschooling 101 book. If you haven't picked this up yet, there is a chapter in there. I also have a blog post that's kind of briefly talks about some of the things you can do to prepare for high school. So if you want to check those out, you're welcome to. I will try and put links for those below. And then I do have a little list of notes down here to kind of help me stay on track with all of the things that we're doing. And I think I will probably do, I've got a lot of requests for a video on how to create transcripts, and I think that's a video in and of itself, so I will do one of those. I'll briefly mention transcripts in this video, but check that. We'll check for that video for like the logistics of how to create transcripts and all of that. Okay, so let's talk about preparing for high school. So on a very basic level, what you need to find out for sure is just what's required in your state for high school graduation. How many credits do they need? What classes do they need? You know, how do you want to organize that throughout the 4 years? And I'll talk about some of that when we get a little bit further into this. But each state varies on their requirements, and so you really will want to contact you can even contact your local high school in your area. You can contact your local Department of Education, whatever's easiest for you. And a lot of times they'll even have a homeschool liaison that can kind of help walk you through homeschooling high school at home. So just at a very bare minimum, find out what your graduation requirements are to make sure that you're at least meeting those. So step one for us is to go big picture end goal. So what we're doing at this stage right now in planning is we have looked at entrance requirements for some of the colleges in our area. You would want to do that for colleges that maybe your child would be interested in attending, and really kind of sit down and talk with your child about, or your student. I feel weird calling them child now because they're older. So let's say student. Sit down and talk with your student about what their visions are for their future. What are they interested in doing? What are some of the things they're interested in learning about or becoming for a career? And then take those and then start looking online at what are your options. What are colleges that meet those needs? What does it have to be a college? There's a lot of other opportunities out there now with apprenticeships and online programs and things like that, that your child doesn't necessarily, or student doesn't necessarily have to go to a big university to get some fancy degree necessarily. Now, so step one, find the big picture, end game. What's our goal? Where are we trying to get? So for us, my daughter is not entirely sure what she wants to do. She has a couple of ideas right now, and I think at age 14 or 15, when you're kind of preparing for high school, they don't know what they want to do. I definitely didn't know what I wanted to do when I was that age either. But they can at least kind of give you an idea of what they're interested in, and then you as their parent can take that a step further and say, okay, for my student, I want these options available to them when they graduate. And so for me, my daughter is looking at some different colleges around here. Even if she wasn't, I think I would still tailor her high school credits and classes and all of that towards the end goal of her being able to attend a college in the event that she wanted to. I don't want her to graduate from our high school and not have a bunch of options open to her, because she very well may change her mind between right now at age 14 when she's in 8th grade and we're talking about this to when she's getting ready to graduate high school. Her goals and all of that might have altered. As a matter of fact, they most likely will. So my goal in homeschooling through high school is to graduate her with as many possibilities as she could ever want when she gets out. Now, you can tailor your high school experience, of course, if you have a student who is definitely directed in a certain area. If they're a little bit more open-ended, I would say just make sure that you get them what they need to be able to graduate, move on to college, or anything else that they want to do. That way, when they get there and they've changed their mind 5 more times, they still have enough credits and all of that, that they actually have the option to change their mind and change their direction. So starting off with the big picture or end game in mind is the best place, in my opinion, to start when you're planning for high school. And so we're going to start there, and then we're going to work our way back down toward 9th grade. All right, so when you do that, you can look at your colleges, you can find out what their entrance requirements are. I even also suggest that you would contact that college or a couple of colleges and ask them if they have a homeschool liaison. A lot of them will. You're going to want to make sure that you're taking the classes that they're going to be wanting to see in an applicant. You're going to also want to make sure that if they have a specific list of curriculum that you need to use, that you're also following that. Some curriculum out there might not actually count toward a college credit for them or a high school credit for them, and you don't want to have your student graduating and then trying to get into a college and finding out that they're lacking in certain credits just because of the curriculum that you chose to use. So if you do know where they're wanting to go, or at least you have a couple of ideas, you can contact those places, those institutions, ask them if they have any curriculum requirements on what they'll accept for transfer credits or high school credits, and then make sure that you're tailoring your curriculum to that. Now, that might mean that you have to change something that you have been doing, and that just might have to be a decision that you guys make. There is an opportunity for them to potentially test out of certain subjects if you don't want to use something that they're recommending or whatever. But I would suggest that if you really do know where you want to go, you kind of use their requirements, their guidelines, and make sure that you're fitting your student into the box to get into whatever college or institute that they're wanting to go to. The next thing, number 1, let's just review really quickly, is to check your state requirements for basic high school graduation. Number 2 is start at the big picture. What are your goals? Where do you want to end up? And then work your way backward from there so that you're fitting those 4 years into that final end goal. And then number 3, look at colleges, institutes, all of those kinds of things. Contact them and find out what their requirements are and make sure that you're kind of fitting yourself into their box if that's your end goal. The next thing that I suggest that you do is just research all of your options. There are a lot of options for high school out there right now. And this was probably the biggest one for us. We started with the end game that we were going to homeschool all the way through high school. That's always just kind of been my drive, unless something had changed. I was wanting to be flexible with that, but for the most part, we were planning on continuing to homeschool. When we got to this year, almost everyone that we know is actually sending their student to something called Colorado Early Colleges. Now, that's specific to Colorado. I don't know if you have that option in your state, but essentially what it is it's a high school. It is a secular public kind of high school. It's just a much smaller scale, so classes are smaller. I think there's only about 300 or so students there versus some of the other high schools around here that have a few thousand students. So the classroom sizes would still be smaller, but essentially the goal there is that they would go to high school there and at the same time be taking dual enrollment classes. So when they graduate with their high school degree from there, they're also potentially graduating with an associate's degree at the same time, which is semi-beneficial depending again on what your end game is. Now, I'll talk about that in just a second, but there's a couple things to consider there. Number 1, we really were looking into that, but we were also faced with the fact that we were putting our student back into a public school system. And so do you really want to do that? For some people, that really is working out well for them and it fit. We've decided not to do that, and I'll explain to you why at the end when I tell you what we're doing. But that is definitely an option, at least if you live in Colorado, and there might be an early colleges type institute also in your state. You're just going to have to kind of do the research and find out what's available to you. The second thing is there's also a ton of online high school options that you can do. You can do just specific subjects online. You can do a whole curriculum online. And that kind of takes the burden of teaching off of you as the parent, which is something that I definitely struggled with. I wasn't sure. You know, this whole time as homeschooling, you're never sure if you're doing enough or if you're qualified and all of those things. And when you hit high school, that kind of becomes more of a reality, because now all of a sudden these credits are counting for something. And so I was slightly nervous about teaching her at home and whether I was qualified and she was going to be learning what she needed to learn and all of those things. And so if you are concerned about that, definitely check into some of the online options out there, or maybe just for a specific subject if you're worried about that, you know, subject or whatever. So there's options out there for you. There's also, I keep saying options, but we also in our state have an actual program called Options. Most of you know that we've been attending that for a few years now. And they go once a week and they do classes there and they have teachers there. I get a day off to film videos like this for you guys. And they get to go and have fun with their friends and take classes. Up until this point, it's been totally optional elective classes for that. I didn't care what they took. I just wanted them to have fun and do something they maybe weren't doing at home. And that's worked out great for us. And then this year came around, and what we thought was going to happen is we were going to have to pull our daughter from Options, because partly, not pull her, but they didn't offer it on our day. Well, we later found out that they do offer it on another day, and so we are going to be moving. And that brought up a couple of things for us. One, my daughter really wanted to continue going to Options, mainly because she likes seeing her friends and she likes having a little bit of independence from me as well. And I think that's good for her. The other thing is that she just enjoyed the classes there. She enjoyed getting able to do some things that we weren't kind of, you know, doing here. They're also more fun and, you know, and things like that. And so I didn't want her to go and quote waste those hours there, because if she is taking classes at an Options program, that does count for her high school hours. And I didn't want it to just be all fun electives for her, because that's taking away from some of the hours that we need to get finished for our, you know, our basic transcripts hours, fill all of our requirements. And so I'll explain a little bit further what we decided to do at the end again, but just know that you might want to check your state to see. It is through our local school district. They do a once a week Options program. We've done it for years, and you'll just need to check for your state to see if that's an option for you. The other thing you can obviously do is homeschool at home. There are, like I mentioned, online classes. There are DVD classes. I know BJU and I think even Abeka sell individual subjects. So for example, if you're concerned about teaching history or science or English or, you know, one of the more core subjects and you're just not comfortable teaching that, you can do a DVD class for it. You could do all DVD classes. I do have a friend of mine who opted to do all of Abeka online DVD courses. Her daughter loved it. She got up in the morning, did all of her classes, had the afternoon kind of free, and it kind of took the burden of teaching off of her mom as well. And so that just worked out really well for them. So just make sure you're checking to see what options are available to you. It might just not be quite as, you know, cut as either we put her in school or we keep her home. There's a lot of kind of mixing that you can do, and you can even do that before high school. But just know that there's a lot of different options out there for you, and you're going to just need to look and see what fits your needs, your students' needs, your family's needs, and all of that. And then I also really recommend including your student in that decision. Now, ultimately, the decision on what we're doing with her education is falling on my husband and myself. You know, we're her parents, we're in charge of her education, we'll make the final call. But for this, we really did include her in the decision-making process. We talked about putting her in the Colorado early colleges. We were both unsure of that decision. She wasn't sure she wanted to do that, but she still wanted to go and have that, you know, kind of just communication with her friends and that time with her friends. I was more worried about academic requirements and things like that. And so we did come to some sort of a compromise, but only through sort of discussing back and forth what we thought was best for her, what she wanted, what her goals were, and all of that. So once you hit this stage, I do think it's really important to include your student in your decision-making process. And then finally, once you started at the big picture, let's just use the example of we want to go to XYZ college. We've called that college, we found out what their entrance requirements are, we found out what curriculum we can use and all of those things, and then you can tailor all 4 years of your high school based on those needs. So you kind of start from the top and then whittle your way backward. Now, a lot of times those places will also have their high school counselor or whatever that can kind of help you organize your years so that you're not overloading, but you're getting everything that you need to get done over the course of 4 years. There's also now for a lot of states a 5th year high school option that you can do. So if you haven't met your requirements in the 4th year, I think it's called the Ascent program. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, but they're actually offering a 5th year where students can go and take college level credit classes and just get a little bit of a head start before actually moving into college. Now, when you're researching your options, there's also something called dual enrollment, and I want to talk about that briefly and just kind of share with you our thoughts on it. Now, this will be different for every family, but dual enrollment is essentially your student would be taking a class that counts for both high school credit and a college credit. Now, usually it's something like basic freshman college level credit, so like English 101 and things like that, that they would be taking their first year of college kind of anywhere that they go. There are some pluses and minuses to that, just like anything. So the first thing I would definitely take in mind before doing dual enrollment, and this is partially why we were really looking at CEC, because our parental thought was, oh, she could do all this stuff right away and graduate with an associate's degree and basically skip her first year of college, so when she goes into college she's now entering as a sophomore. And of course we thought that was just great because she was ahead of the game. Well, talking to a lot of people who have gone through that and kind of after the fact hindsight, there's a couple of concerns and things to consider before pushing your student that route, I guess I should say. So essentially, when you're taking a dual enrollment class, you're taking a college level class and they're giving you high school credit for it and college credit. So the first thing to consider would just be the maturity level of your student just overall. Are they really going to be ready for a college level course? These courses are no joke. They're difficult. The college professors are usually ones that are teaching them. So for our Colorado early colleges classes, college professors actually come to the institute for some of those things. Some of the time the students actually leave the campus and go to a community college here to take the courses. So I think it's really important at that stage to ask yourself, talk to your student, are they really ready at the age of say 15 or 16 to be taking a college level class? I think it's a little bit better if the college instructor comes to, for example, the campus where they're sitting with a bunch of their peers versus them going to an actual college classroom. I've talked to a lot of people. We also did a high school counseling session with our options class, which was super helpful. And he had his students in public school this whole time. He's never high schooled, but he really actually, I don't know if warned, but he definitely was not a fan of putting 15 and 16-year-old kids into a college classroom with other college students, because you're setting them into an environment with 20-plus-year-olds, people who are maybe returning to take classes after they've changed careers or whatever, or people who have just got out of high school and they're starting their college class. Either way, on a social aspect, a lot of times those younger kids don't fit in as well, just because they're so young. Their peers kind of now are in their 20s and they're sort of looking at a 15-year-old like, why are you in this class with me? The professors are equally as not as accepting from what I've heard. You can correct me in the comments below if you've done this and your student had a great experience. But overall, the reaction that I got was that the students that were younger felt kind of a little bit outcast, not quite included. The professors were definitely of the mindset that they weren't going to take it any easier on these kids because they were younger. They still had to obviously fulfill the requirements of the class. And it was very stressful for them, both on a social level, but also on an academic level, because they were really just kind of pushed into a class that they maybe weren't quite ready for, and a class that they didn't feel like they fit in with as well. And so that's just social and academic things that you need to consider before launching your student into dual enrollment classes. The other thing to consider is their ability to stand up for what they believe in. So if you take someone who is say 15 and put them in a college level class with, even if it's with some of their peers, those college professors come in with certain viewpoints and certain life views basically that they're going to impose on that class. Now, if you have a student who is highly susceptible to different, things, and you're not quite comfortable with them being able to sort of stand up for things that they believe in, then that might not be an option for you. One example of what I'm trying to describe is a friend of mine put her 18-year-old into one of these Colorado early college classes, and the professor was requiring them to watch a rated R movie that had content that she was not interested in watching. And so she actually had the wherewithal to stand up in the class and say, you know what, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to watch this movie. And when she walked out, there was about 5 other 15 and 16-year-olds that were in there with her that got up and left as well. Now, none of those kids at the time had, kind of enough courage to stand up to a professor, an authority figure, and say, you know what, I really don't think we should be watching this. And it kind of took the older student to stand up and say, you know what, hey, I'm not okay with this. And when she left, they all left. And it all kind of worked out. A lot of times with things like that, with those classes, you're required to do those things and read that book or watch that movie or whatever, and your grade is kind of dependent upon it. Since so many people walked out of that particular class, I believe that they worked it out so that it didn't affect their grade. But just things like that are something that you kind of want to take into consideration based on the age of your student and what you're okay with them seeing and learning about and that kind of thing at a younger age. So I think dual enrollment is a great option. I think you just need to make sure that you consider some of those things before you put maybe your freshman into all of that. It's a lot of pressure, and it's definitely, from what I've heard, kind of frustrating for both the parent and the student, especially if they're not ready. One thing that we are looking into doing as far as dual enrollment goes is potentially putting our daughter in a little bit later. So maybe when she is 17 or 18, then we look at moving her into some of those dual enrollment classes where hopefully she's a little bit more mature and responsible and ready for the added pressure. Now, the next thing to think about with dual enrollment is, again, going back to your end game. Look at your colleges. A lot of colleges will accept some of those dual enrollment transfers. Some of them won't, especially if you're looking at like an Ivy League college or a really like like a technical institute, if your son or daughter is going into engineering or some of those kinds of things. Some of those colleges can be very specific on the credits they'll take. I do have a friend of mine who's looking at going to DU. Her son is extremely technical. He wants to go into some kind of engineering, and they've agreed to take a certain amount of those dual enrollment credit hours, but nothing beyond that point. And from what I understand, it's mainly a financial decision on the part of the college. They want to get as much money out of you as they possibly can. And so some of the institutions will allow you to do like one full freshman year of college credit, and you can enter as a sophomore and then take the 3 years of college through them. Some, like I said, that are more specific, Ivy League, things like that, will not allow that. So you just want to kind of make sure that if you are going to be doing dual enrollment classes, it's going to be worth your benefit. I want to go to this college. Are they going to take this or not? If not, I'm not going to worry about putting my student through that added pressure. Now, that said, if you do have a student who is extremely geared towards one field, they definitely want to do become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, science, things like that. If they are definitely mindset, they want to go in that direction, then definitely add those stay heavy on those sides of classes. So you might want to, let's take engineering as an example. If you know your student definitely wants to go into engineering, definitely, pile up on the math classes, get way past what is required for high school graduation, pile on as many math classes as you can, and then maybe just take the minimum of foreign language and social studies and things that aren't going to affect their major quite as much. So hopefully that makes sense. Essentially, you basically want to look at your end game and then build your curriculum from there on down. Now, just as an overall process, I just wanted to kind of mention some things that you might want to be considering per year. So right now we're in 8th grade and we are considering all of these things. We're contacting colleges, we're looking at what we need to do to graduate her, we're looking to see what we need to do in the future to make sure that she has enough credits and all of those things that she needs to get into the college of her choice. even if, like I said, she ends up not wanting to go there. I want to make sure that when I graduate her, she has that option if she wants it. If she changes her mind and decides to do something else, that's totally fine. I just want to make sure that I'm getting her to a point where she can do whatever she wants. So I would say in 8th grade, you definitely want to start doing this kind of pre-planning. Let's try and figure out where we're going to go. Once you're in your freshman year, you want to continue that process. Keep talking about their goals, what they want to do, find out where your strengths and your weaknesses are, and just make sure that you're kind of adjusting your curriculum each year to meet those needs so that you can graduate. And then just continue talking about your goals and making sure that your curriculum each year is building upon those goals so that you can reach your end goal of graduation. When you are a sophomore, you definitely want to start looking more at colleges, get a little bit more serious about, okay, I really do think I want to kind of go here. It still gives you plenty of time to fidget with your classes and maybe change them up if you've changed your mind at this point. Look at some majors that you want to do. You may also at that point need to take a PSAT test. I think those are in October, if I'm not mistaken. So you'll just want to find out what you have available in your area. Want to make sure that you're getting your English and your math, because I'll give you a list of what you should do each year, kind of, or for final overall graduation. But you want to make sure that you're getting your base credits in. Your junior year, you also probably are going to be wanting to sign up for things like the ACT and the SAT, and just getting your scores down and just getting ready for college entrance if that's your goal. You might even want to, if you're taking classes outside of home, an online or DVD class, see if you can get some letters of recommendation from those people, that could help you in the future. And then you again might want to even start visiting some college campuses. You'll want to do that more in your senior year, I would say, but you definitely want to start narrowing down your list. Your senior year, you definitely want to kind of be more pinpointing, okay, I definitely want to go here or do this, and just make sure that you're still having what you need to meet your end game. Now, quickly, I want to say it's not the end of the world if you get to your senior year and you realize, oh my gosh, I missed this class. You can add it in at that point. If you're halfway, let's say, through your senior year, you can do a summer class. You can even postpone college for another year and just take that extra credit that you needed. So it's not like the end of the world if you've completely changed your game and are heading in a whole different direction and you need to make up those things. Like I said, a lot of high schoolers now are doing the Ascent program, where they're doing a 5th year of high school anyway before they move on, and just helps give them more time to get some dual enrollment classes in and refocus their direction. So as a whole, overall, you just want to kind of keep your end game in mind and then just keep tailing your 4 years to that. As your senior, if you need to retake your SATs and ACTs at that time as well to improve your test scores and all of that. Now, keep in mind when you're doing those tests and you've got results coming in, make sure you have copies of everything so that you can have those prepared and ready to send to colleges. And I might do a separate video on how to kind of prepare and what you need to do, but essentially each college is going to be a little bit different, and they're going to tell you what they need for you to do as far as transcripts and application letters and essays and test scores and all of that. They'll tell you what they specifically need. And I think the main thing at this point is that hopefully you've talked to your student enough that they know what the end game is, you know what the end game is, they've been involved in the decision-making process this whole time as well, and so hopefully it's not like some big surprise by the end where you just completely miss something and you're not graduating, or unless you've really just changed your direction. Everything should kind of flow and keep on track. So just as a general overall entrance requirement, college or high school graduation, most colleges, I've done some research at least in this area, and then I've looked online a lot as well. You're again going to want to check your specific kind of end game in mind, but most colleges require, and I'm going to read this off here because I can't remember, but 4 credits of English with an emphasis in writing during their senior year, 4 credits of math, which include Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Again, if you're going to do engineering or something, you'll probably want to pile on trig and calculus to that if possible and go more heavy in that direction. Science, 3 credits, including a lab in biology and a lab in chemistry. Social studies, 3 credits, including world history, U.S. history, and American government, and then a level 2 or level 3 for a world language, and that can pretty much be whatever you want. Mine also have, I think it's 2 to 4 hours of elective credits. So you can either you know, kind of just pile on with the course stuff. You can also add in some electives. It kind of just depends on what your needs are, and also the entrance requirements for your college. Now this sheet that I have here doesn't mention the elective classes, so you'll just want to look on yours, you know, where you plan to go, and again, your end game, and kind of build your way back from there. For highly selective universities, it's actually going to be slightly different. You're going to have to do 4 credits for English with honors and AP coursework, 4 credits of math including AP calculus, 4 credits of science, biology, chemistry, physics, and an AP course, 4 credits of social studies including AP coursework, and then level 3 or 4 of the same world language including an AP course. So that would be colleges like Duke, Brown, Stanford, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, things like that. So really, if your student is college bound and they're like, you know, one of the Ivy Leagues and things like that, you're definitely going to want to contact them and find out what you need to do to prepare so that your student is actually even eligible for entrance to that college. So that's probably the best tip I can give you, is kind of start big picture and then work your way back. And when you do that, it's actually not quite as scary either. Now, you know, it kind of helps you to organize your classes in such a way that, you know, okay, this is what we need. This is what we need at the end. We need to do 1 of these Englishes every year. And so, you know, you just plop that in each year. It makes it a lot easier to schedule out your 4 years, balance out the coursework so that you're not overloading anybody or anything like that. And then it makes it a lot less intimidating as well. Now, the last thing I quickly want to mention, and I'm going to do, like I said, a separate video on how to make a transcript, like the actual, like what to do to create transcripts. Because that's just kind of its own thing. But you do also need to make sure during this process that you are keeping some sort of written transcript. You will be required to provide that if you want to go to a college, and possibly, it depends on the trade and things like that, but in apprenticeships and things like that, a lot of times we'll want to at least see what they did for high school. And so you will want to be able to keep a transcript in some form or another. We're currently using Homeschool Tracker, which has been fine, and you can build transcripts in there. You do have to go when you insert the course, and it will say, you know, 3 credits and how many hours and all of that it's worth when you're entering those classes into the software. So there's other software out there you can use that will build transcripts for you. Just do some online research and find the one that works best for you. I think doing an online or software type program is kind of the best, because then all you have to do is click each day that your student is doing something, and it sort of automatically calculates their GPA and their hours and their credits and all of that kind of thing, so that you're not having to manually do it. But whatever works best for you. I do have great tracking sheets in all of my planners, and if you are kind of a paper and pencil person, you're more than welcome to use that as well. You just have to have something to show. Now, if you're doing a combination of options or an online class plus your high school classes, you just have to merge those into one transcript that you can send out. And like I said, I'll talk about transcripts in a different capacity at the end of this. Now, as far as diplomas go, you can order graduation diplomas online. Look at hslda.org as well for that information. So once they've completed all of their high school coursework, all you have to do is kind of send in those transcripts. They'll send you the graduation, you know, the diploma and all of that kind of information for your students, so that they have some kind of proof of graduation. And there's also, if you're doing it through an options or any of these other online programs as well, they have the same kind of thing. So it really depends on what you choose, even if it's a combination of things, to do, you know, to come to the end where you have all of your credits met, and then you can just get your diploma for your students. So I think a lot of people think that if you're homeschooling, you don't get a diploma and you don't officially graduate, but you do. All right, so for our family, we did a lot of discussions with our daughter, my husband and I, and we have come to the decision that we would like for her to still be able to do some options classes, but overall we want to still have her be doing homeschool at home. And we were looking at sending her to CEC, where she'd be going there and doing high school and possibly some dual enrollment credits a little bit later on. We didn't think she was quite ready for the dual enrollment classes right off the bat, not because she's not smart enough or anything like that. She's extremely bright. She does a great job, but we just didn't want to put that pressure on her. You know, honestly, this whole time through homeschooling, you know, we started her early, and I know a lot of homeschoolers are, oh, my kids are grades ahead of where they should be, and things like that. And That's awesome if that's great for your student. For us, we really felt like it was important to keep our kids on grade level. You know, what's our end game? Do we really want to graduate them when they're 16? Do we really want to graduate from high school when she's, you know, 15? And we don't want to do that. We want to allow her to have time to just be a kid, enjoy some of those things that you get to do when you're 15 years old, and not have the added pressure of a college level class at this time, and just, you know, just the pressures of the world coming down on her yet. You know, I'm kind of of the mindset that I want her to just still have fun and be a kid while she can be, because in a couple of years she will be graduating. She will have to get a job and have to deal with, you know, bills and making money and having a job and, you know, balancing life just in general. I don't feel like she needs to necessarily do it right now when she's, you know, in 9th or 10th grade. So we've decided to not do the college, early colleges classes at this time. Now that doesn't mean that when she's a junior or senior, we might not still opt in to do that. So for Colorado early colleges anyway, we have a law in our state where each high school student is eligible for free education up to the age of 21. And then I think it's a certain dollar amount per year. I want to say it's around $2,200 per year worth of classes. If you go over that, then you pay for it. And this is if they're in a like a Colorado early colleges kind of class situation. And so we want to take advantage of the free Colorado the free classes, college classes she could do, but at the same time we don't want to push her ahead into her adult life before she's really just emotionally and mentally ready for it. That means probably when she's maybe a junior or senior, we might revisit that and have her doing some of the dual enrollment classes and things like that, just to give her an advantage to whatever college she's going to go to. But we're just not gonna do it right now. So for this next year, what we are gonna do is we are gonna continue having her do her options. It's 1 day a week. They do offer high school credit level classes. So whatever she's taking there, she will not be taking at home. So right now what she has an English class, she has a Spanish class, and one other, what is it? I can't remember. She does have one other core class that will count for credits, and then she actually does have 2 elective classes. And for me, that satisfied my requirements of we need to get some credits for her, not just let her go and do all electives all day. And for her, that satisfied the need of her being able to go and just be with her friends for 1 day, be independent from me for a day, and then take a couple of classes that she really enjoys. So she's doing a few art classes there. They have a really cool computer class where they're doing programming and you know, coding and things like that. My son is going to be doing that. So it just seemed like an option that fit really well, because it kind of fit both her needs and also both my academic requirement needs. So she won't be doing those classes at home. She will be taking her other, I believe we're doing math and science here, and a couple other things. But so we're going to kind of split it up. So she's going to do options 1 day a week. When they do the high school options programs, at least for our state, they do a lesson that 1 day, and then they do have homework for that class for the rest of the week. So even though she's taking English there, she will have a full English credit when she is done with that class, because she will have done the homework at home. But I'm not doing on top of that another English program here at home. Hopefully that makes sense. So we're doing a mix of the options with her for a few classes, and then some homeschooling with her for a few classes. Now, I have not decided exactly which curriculum we're going to be doing at home. I know that all the options classes will transfer to any of the state's colleges in Colorado, and so we're good with those. I just need to contact them and find out which curriculum, or if any, there's restrictions on what I'm doing at home, and that might mean that we have to change some of the vendors that we've been using. Hopefully not. You know, some of the they should have a list, your colleges, of what they'll accept as far as curriculum and what they won't. So you just kind of want to make sure that you're on with that. So we need to still contact them and find out what we can do at home, just so that we're not wasting our credit hours. I want to make sure that when she gets done with her math, they're going to accept whatever math we're using and that kind of thing. So that's what we'll be doing. She's going, we're going to probably take it year by year though, I will say that. We're going to try this out this first year. We're going to do half at home, and then she's going to do a couple classes at options, which won't seem to her all that different from what we're doing now, other than that those will be credit earning classes that she's taking at her options program. If that works out, we'll probably continue with that next year as well. And you know, one of the things about options programs that I think you need to understand, and we've had a lot of people moving to the Colorado early colleges, like I've mentioned, just because they want the dual enrollment and all of that. you can still do dual enrollment at traditional schools. Most public schools offer dual enrollment classes if you're interested. Our options program also offers dual enrollment. So we could potentially keep her in the options for the next 4 years, and she can still graduate with her high school degree plus enough dual enrollment credits for an associate's degree. So just make sure you're looking at all of your options, because we didn't quite understand that that was an option for us doing our state options program that we are doing. We didn't realize that she could also do dual enrollment classes there and graduate with, you know, the same amount of associate's credits. And so that was really kind of comforting to me, because it's a system that we're familiar with. We like the classes, it's worked out well for us, and we can still benefit from some of the dual enrollment. So we may or may not move her over to you know, the full dual enrollment. I do have a friend who actually kept her student home for all 4 years of high school, and then instead of giving her degree at, you know, when she would have normally graduated, she didn't give her a degree, she held it, and then sent her to the Colorado Early Colleges class. She's taking only college classes, so she's doing as many free college classes as she can, taking advantage of that until she's 21, and just getting those classes down. And again, then she would transfer on to another college if she wanted to get her bachelor's degree or whatever, but she's a lot more focused and not doing high school classes there, she's just doing college classes there. So that is actually a really cool option. We might look into doing something like that. It kind of depends on where we go with you know, our dual enrollment and where my daughter ends up going for college and things like that. But I just wanted to do this video so that you know that there's just a ton of different options. There's a lot of different ways you can set up homeschooling at home for high school. You can do everything at home. You can do a mix of things. You can do online classes. You can, you know, just choose to be done homeschooling. I don't think anybody is going to judge you for hopefully choosing the best educational decision for your student. And so just research, find out what all your options are in your specific area. If you're in Colorado, I can help you out a little bit more. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to email me on that, on what your options are. But a lot of that's information for the variety of states in the US anyways is on the hslda.org website. And they also have people who can kind of help you and get ready. And again, your local school districts also have homeschool liaisons who can help you set up your class list and make sure, kind of like a high school counselor, make sure that you're taking what you need to take, when you need to take it, and all that. And then definitely contact colleges if your student is college bound and ask them what you need to be doing as well. So there's a lot of help out there. I don't think it needs to be quite as scary as maybe it sounds. There's a lot of people out there who can kind of help you get your classes in order and what you need to take and all of that. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. Thank you so much if you stuck with me this long. I know it's a long video. My camera shut off like 3 times and I've had to restart it. So hopefully the information though is beneficial for you. If you have any questions on more specifics on exactly what we're taking, I will do another video once we narrow down the curriculum that we're using and exactly the credit hours she's having, just to kind of, and we'll be doing that soon. Just to kind of give you guys a better starting point. But just for now, we're doing a mix of homeschool plus our options program classes. So anyways, hopefully that helps you out. Hopefully the information was of value. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. And as always, if you have any questions or anything, you're welcome to email me. I'll put all of my information below. And you're also, of course, welcome to check out my Homeschooling 101 book if you haven't got this already. There's a ton of information on what to do each year in here as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.